My name is Mohammed Qasim. I was born 1995, Al-Staff Towie Street, 2010. I am 15. My grandmother and I were home alone. She was telling me stories of the days of our country. Funny stories and sad ones. But she never told me a complete story because she always had to go to the bathroom halfway through. My grandma spends half her time in the room and the other half in the bathroom. My parents came back at 10:30 at night and went straight to sleep. I couldn't sleep. I was lying on my bed, awake, writing my homework. Suddenly, I heard a noise of a distant explosion. I went to my parents' room and took the radio to hear the news. I woke my father up and told him I heard a sound of a strong explosion. He said, "Be quiet, go back to bed. It's just aimless shooting." Anyway, I went back to bed and the electricity was out. Suddenly, there was a huge explosion that shook my world. I pulled my blanket and covered my face, and something fell on me. I raised my blanket off me with all my strength, and the frame of the window had fallen on me. The blanket was full of glass, and our entire house was full of black smoke. It was the day they hit the workers' union right next to our house. But that's not the point. The point is all the stupid things that happened and for which I can't find an explanation for. First, the world was on fire and we all felt that we would die, but my grandmother was looking for her false teeth. She was afraid that when she died, people would find out that she had no teeth. Like they didn't know already. Second, the house was full of smoke, and my father lit a cigarette and smoked, as if we needed more smoke. Third, my uncle called to make sure we were okay, and my father told him we were all fine, thank God, but that all the windows of the house were broken, except one. My uncle told him to break it, but my father did. And I don't know why I'm telling this story. All I know is that we're living in a cage, a prison, like an encaged bird who wants to come out, but he's besieged. Kids are dying right in front of their mother's eyes, and hearts are crying for them and screaming in the loudest voice. But no one hears. No one's heart softens, and no one seems to care. 15th of November, 2024. I am now 29. No one cares, and no one feels anything. That was the last line I said in my monologue back in 2010. I used to wish I could write something beautiful, beautiful words after suffering. The suffering my country has endured from oppression, racism, and prosecution. Our lives are filled with black dates, migration, catastrophe, setback, and starvation. When I decided to leave the country, that decision was hard, very hard. But after I felt the darkness of the siege increasing and the smiles of people fading, their laughter disappearing, I thought to myself, leave now, before you get lost between your own feet. The separation was burning. Exile was scalding. And my mother's heart, oh my, it was painful. She was afraid her youngest son would be away so long that she wouldn't live to see him and her dream of seeing her children running around her. She doesn't know that my fear for her is far greater than her fear for me. Since I arrived in Morocco in 2016, there have been 2 wars on Gaza, the last one in 2022. In Gaza, every 2 years war breaks out and the situation is miserable, with bombardment ongoing, as much as God allows it. Hit, strike, hit, strike. When I talk to my family during the war, they always respond to me coldly. It's okay. We're fine. Even though every time a rocket falls on them, I always say, may God protect them. Since October 7, I have been living in a nightmare. And every time I say, oh God, let me wake up from it, but this nightmare keeps getting worse and worse. And as time passed, I realized the nightmare of Gaza is real. We see it, we feel it, and the people live it. When I talk to my family, I feel immense weakness, but I can't do anything for them. They ask me, where should we go? People are running. Some carrying their children, others carrying their mothers on their backs, some with their mattresses, and everyone is running. They don't know where they're going, but they feel that the farther away they go, the safer they'll be. I follow the displacement of my family from Astaftawi to the beach, from the beach to the UN schools, from the UN schools to Sheikh Radwan, and from Sheikh Radwan to Abu Iskandar. With every displacement, there were stories and tales full of fear and terror. And one day, I felt that the world had turned dark in my eyes. For 3 days in a row, I couldn't reach my family. And I felt that Gaza had been wiped out. Thoughts came and went. Are they alive? Are they awake? Are they asleep? Can they even eat or drink? My night was day, and my day was night. I couldn't sleep, or even eat. I lived in my room as if I were a prisoner. At night, my phone rang. My sister was calling me. We're fine. I cried out of joy and started jumping around the house like a madman. I spoke to everyone just to believe her. Then not long after that day, my phone rang at night. And the one thing I hate most is my phone ringing at night. Hello, what's going on? My sister said, look online. What are the symptoms of a stroke? I responded, shocked. Why? What's happened? Mum's eyes have turned. Her tongue is heavy and it's 12 o'clock at night. There's no ambulance and there's shelling everywhere and the tanks are surrounding that house. At that moment, I felt broken. It was as if someone had tied my hands and feet and was suffocating me. I felt helpless and weak. I imagined my mother calling me with swollen eyes, and I was powerless, unable to do anything. The most I could do was make an appeal. If the blood didn't stir something in your hearts, will you at least hear my appeal? Or even see it? My mother is from my country, and my country needs an ambulance. Will you save this country? Or will it meet the same fate as many other countries that die right before your eyes? The country is patient, despite the pain, but the rest is up to you. Try to awaken your conscience before we lose our country. I am certain, no matter what I say, no matter how much I speak, no one will care. No one will feel anything.
My name is Mahmoud Abu Shaban. I was born in 1996 in Al Ramal. In 2010, I'm 14. You're going to call me crazy, nuts, cuckoo. Go ahead. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me anymore. In truth, what's happening with me is not normal. I mean, losing trust in my friends is normal. Lots of people have lost trust in others. But what's driving me crazy is that I've lost my trust in shop windows and in cars, in police stations and suspicious areas. In my personal philosophy, all of Gaza is a suspicious area. To make a long story short, everything that was hit in the war, I'm scared of going near today. I don't know how to walk down the street. I'd be walking on the right and get scared, and then I'd move to the left, but I'd be scared, so I'd go back to the right, and I'd stay in that whirlwind. Where am I supposed to walk? In the middle of the street? You see, on the first day of the war, I was in my brother's shop, which sells computers and mobile phone accessories. A medal fell on the floor, and my brother told me to hang it up. And then suddenly, while I was hanging it up, I heard the sound of rockets, and the glass fell on me and injured me. I was scared. I wasn't scared for myself, but for my brother. He was also injured. He was worried about our family. He told me, go up to the house and make sure that they're okay. So I went up the stairs, and I wasn't scared. I made sure that they were all right. They were fine, thank God. I walked up the street to find out where the explosion happened. We heard a lot of explosions. Gaza became like a black night because of the smoke. But still I wasn't scared. I forgot to tell you that my brother had a cup of tea in the first explosion, which fell from his hand and it broke. Do you think that was because of fear? Ninth of November, 2024. I'm now 28. Loss is extremely difficult, and no one can truly understand it except those who have lived through it. Losing your mother, father, your brother, your sister, her husband, their children, and your grandchildren, all in one day, that is something so painful, no one can bear such a loss all at once. You lose the warmth and the tenderness of your family, you lose their voices, everything that belongs to them, you lose your sweet memories, and even your home and the grave where they're buried, a place where you can't go to visit them. I miss my loving mother and father, who were always by my side, whether I was upset, happy, or needed anything. They were always there, sharing every moment, no matter what. I miss my brother, who was more than a brother to me. He always supported me, stood by me, helped me endure everything. I miss my compassionate sister, who was like a second mother to me. Do you know what it means to lose all of your family? On October the 18th, 2023, I received the news that my sister's house, where my family was, had been targeted. At that moment, I didn't know what to do. I felt so powerless, I couldn't do anything except call them. Of course, no one answered. I was terrified. I prayed to God that they were safe. I called my close friends from the area, asking if any of them could reach the place to check on them, but unfortunately, none of them could do anything. I called my aunt, who lives near the house, and she told me that the targeting was not on their house, it was behind the house, and she tried to calm me down. And I felt a little relieved, but the fear still controlled me. I wasn't reassured. My older brother and I gathered and we started making calls to other relatives, each one of them telling us conflicting information about the others. Some said that they had been injured, others were trying to reassure us. After 6 hours, all communication was lost, and we didn't hear anything from anyone. A few hours later, my aunt managed to get to the area, and we stayed in touch with her. And that was when the shock hit. That was when she told us, one by one, the names of our family members who had been martyred. Unfortunately, we lost everything. Everything that we hold dear. But the occupation wasn't done with us yet. A few days after burying them, we received the news that the cemetery where they were buried had been bulldozed. And the occupation didn't stop there. Weeks later, we were informed that our house had been levelled to the ground. The house where I was born, where I lived my childhood, my life, my sweet memories, every corner of it held a special place in my heart. Even though I've shared my story with you, I'm sure that no one can truly feel the pain and the sorrow that I'm going through. To this day, I'm waiting for the war to end so I can be reassured about my family. To this day, I'm waiting for my family to call me. I miss them so much. I had dreams of getting married and making my family proud, especially my father, because he really wanted to see me happy. I wanted to make him happy and name my child after him. He would have been so proud. The last time I saw my family was in June 2023, and it was the happiest time of my life because it was the first time in years that all of us, me and my siblings, gathered with our parents. They were so happy to see us. Before I travelled, my parents told me, God willing, next time you come, we will rejoice together. But the war stopped everything, and it took the dearest people to my heart. I wish my family was still alive so I could get married, make them happy, gain their approval, serve them with my eyes, and tell them, I love you so much, my dearest family in the world.
My name is Ala Hajjaj. I was born in 1996, Al-Montar. It's 2010, I am 14. I feel like running in the streets till my headscarf flies in the sky and I fly after it. Sometimes I feel like being totally crazy, but I can't. It's the first time I say things like this. Maybe they're not the kind of things I say, or maybe they're the things that I can't express or I'm scared to express. Why do my parents treat me like this? I look at girls my age, how they're living their lives, and I envy them. I wish I could be like them in their confidence and freedom. I wish a ship would carry me to a distant island and throw me on its shore, far away from the world, from everything, especially the war. Speaking of the war, all the war was one pile and my mum was the other. I'll never understand why my mum kept describing things to me that I'd already seen. She and I were standing on the balcony. They bombed our neighbour's house and one of the neighbours died. We saw how the house was destroyed and how the corpse flew onto the street, and you can imagine what happened to the family after that. Did it end? No, it didn't. Mum started telling me about how our neighbour's house was bombed and how our neighbour flew from the house like she was talking to someone who hadn't been standing with her. And on it went, stories from Mum all through the war, and I was the only listener. We'd been sitting watching TV, and they would say there was a bombing or destruction in some place. The report would be 15 minutes long, but Mum's repeated report would be 2 hours. She'd talk about the report like I hadn't been with her. I started to doubt myself. Had I been sitting with her or not? I swear I was there. I was really there. I was sitting next to her. Anyway, thankfully, Mum isn't with you, otherwise she'd give you a headache with her stories. 11th of November, 2024. I'm 29 years old. I had a simple dream. To build a small family in a warm home. Where we would share wishes and memories, living in safety and peace and tranquility. I married Tarek. And after 4 years, we were blessed with a daughter, as beautiful as the moon, who we named Maresca. Together we agreed to provide her with a positive, healthy upbringing. Suddenly everything changed. The war turned our home into a small tent, pitched on sand, surrounded by hunger, fear and cold from every direction. We became displaced. My husband and I lost our jobs. Mariam's first birthday came during the war, and her second birthday will be in December. I never imagined that I wouldn't be able to protect her from the cold of the tent, or from the hunger that was imposed on us. With my constant fear that flames of occupation might reach to us at any moment, we were displaced more than once, fleeing death. God only knows how many times we will be displaced. I used to dream of living in peace, but now my dream is simply to survive. Today, if the world continues to be deaf, mute and blind to our suffering, our voice which has reached this message will not exist tomorrow. I do not want my family to become a number that everyone will forget in a second. We are souls, with dreams, hopes and wishes, and we deserve to live. This is my message to you, world.
My name is Yasmin Jarot. I was born in 1996. Al Daraj, 2010. I am 14. Our future in Gaza is obscure and unknown, like a calm volcano that can erupt at any second. As if we're on a boat without a captain in the midst of a raging sea, we go right, we go left, and no one knows where to lean. I hear that in other countries, childhood is sacred, and children live their lives without problems and fear. But Gaza's children are forgotten and outside that picture. They're the ones who feel the injustice the most, because society treats them like they're not kids. When it wants, it makes them adults, and when it wants, it returns them to being children, and most people deal with them like they're only bodies, not minds. When I see a child peddling in the street or working in a shop, I imagine how the children of the world are playing, resting and feeling safe. Honestly, my heart breaks for them and sometimes I cry. Gaza has no tenderness and no childhood. A boy is born a man here, and a girl is born a bride. Dad, before the war, was a lot more tender with me. I wish he would take me in his arms like before, but God help him, he's probably worried too. Because in the war, we lost 5 dunams of land in a second. The field that's 60 years old was hit by a rocket from the Israeli army, which burned all the oranges in it. My father, my brother, and myself could have also died by that rocket, because we were very close to the window. If Dad hadn't thrown me on the ground, all the shrapnel would have hit me. After the war, I visited Rafah Crossing and saw the flags of Palestine and Egypt next to each other, yet separated by a wire. I felt the difference between the two flags, and that this wire is the border of this big prison that we live in. I felt how stupid and unjust is this world, and I felt like breaking all borders and ending all differences between races and religions, so that everyone in the world would be brothers. My dream became to live in a safe country, even in a small village, in a distant island, at the end of the world. 13th of November, 2024. I am 28. The seasons have passed, yet we haven't lived their familiar details. We didn't eat oranges in winter, nor did we buy roasted corn on the cob by the harbour in summer. Even the olives weren't harvested. They were pressed into the ground by the tread of tanks. The earth did not bloom on my mother's grave because spring hid in fear and was buried beneath the rubble. Everyone is fine, don't worry. We pulled them out alive. They're now in the shelter school. Calm down, only Salman, Najer, her husband Mahmoud, their son Louay, their daughter Vada, Asil, Anas, Bakir, Abu Anas, Abu Jalal, Jalal, Ahmed, his infant son Osama, Ali, Abu Hassan, Zakia, Manal, and her infant son Amir have ascended as martyrs. Everyone is fine. A lie, to reassure Salman's wife, Najar and Mahmoud's children, Anas's mother and father, and if only they were fine. From beneath the rubble, they emerged in pieces, buried in temporary graves. Yes, temporary graves. Are you surprised? Let me explain. We cannot go to cemeteries to bury them. The people were buried in schoolyards, hospital grounds, street corners and alleyways. We will exhume them when the oppression and darkness end. We will unearth them and renew the anguish of separation, the sorrow in our hearts, and the death of hope for their return and reunion. If only the pain had ended with their departure and moved on. And then what comes after? The hungry in the north, the thirsty in the south, exiles without shelter, a reality unlike any other, dispersed here and there, no safety, no peace, displacement everywhere. How long will this persist? Is change impossible? And then what comes after? Will we continue to lean every night on pillows weighed down with burdens, stained with dark worries and waking nightmares? And then what comes after? Is change impossible? Or is permanence inevitable? We turn over between bitter truths, trapped by thoughts that won't leave us, burdened by the weight of day and night. Oh leaders, our souls have aged, and the fragrance of our youth has withered. Faces have grown pale and troubled. To God, we plead our misery and despair. To God, we complain of our weakness and weariness. To God, we cry out against tyranny and injustice. To Him, we surrender our affairs and their outcomes. And then what comes after? The heart no longer desires life, its cravings have been extinguished. We yearn only for the fog to lift, for the hidden light that will sting our eyes after its long absence, more than a year. It will pain our souls with what we will see in its wake. Each of us carry a story too vast for the pages of literature to contain. A tale of how we lived, what we saw, and how we survived. Each of us had our life turned upside down. But the war will end, and the days will bring us back together. if we do not ascend. This is the truth of our faith in God and the firmness of our certainty.
My name is Mahmoud Balawi. I was born in 1995. Ashati Camp. It's 2010. I'm 15. I want to write the most beautiful words about Gaza, but I can't. I can't not see the poverty, siege and famine, especially when all Gaza City flooded into Al-Aris and emptied it from all goods in 2 hours. I can't not see the deprivation in every house, the fear and the sickness. What do you want me to say about Gaza? From when I became aware of it, I was sad about everything inside it, especially the kids and even the adults, youth, women, girls, animals, stones and trees. Everything in it is crying. I'm looking for nice words to say, and I can't find them. The sea is the only thing that helps me dream. When I stand on the shore, I can imagine Cyprus, travel to Paris, flying to Rome, all while standing in the same spot. I go around the whole world, and in the end, I land on my bed in our house, in the middle of the refugee camp. I go back to the reality of Gaza, the dirty market, overflowing sewage, the carts, and what's on top of the carts, the suffocating smell, and the silent people who can't speak. When I look at the clock and it's 11:55, I start shaking and my heart beats faster. I feel that the war started again. Not only the clock scares me, everything that flies does, even the flies. I can't tell anyone about my fears so they don't call me a wimp or a sissy. I'm most scared for my older brothers. When a fly lands on any of them, I feel it's going to kill him. I start shouting and I run away from the place. That's why now I'm escaping outside the house all the time because of the many flies. 19th of November, 2024. To all the free people of the world, to all the humans of the world. Enough with the injustice, enough with the death, enough with the silence. My message is for anyone who carries even the smallest part of humanity in their heart. I know you hear about Gaza, but I want you to understand that the situation is beyond words. The war against us is not just about bombing. It's not just about blood. The war against us is genocide. It's a merciless war that kills every one of us, and it doesn't differentiate between anyone. I have survived several bombing attempts. Our house was bombed. We moved to another house. That house was bombed too, and we lived in a tent. Can you imagine how one can live under the threat of death 24 hours a day? We can't take it anymore. We are exhausted. We demand that every person who carries even a part of humanity in their heart to stop this war. Stop the bloodshed that is pouring. Stop killing us. We are human beings. We want to live just like the rest of the world, just like you. We are not just numbers on the news. We are not just images on the screens. We are human beings. We are families. We are children. We are mothers. We live in an endless war. For us, war is a black shadow that never leaves us. It destroys everything. It takes from us everything precious. Every moment of our lives is now in danger. We don't just live under bombing, we live under siege. We live with the painful memories of our cousins, our friends, our families, our relatives, and everyone who has been martyred or wounded. We are in the final stages. We are gasping for breath before they finish exterminating us. I hope my message reaches you and that you come to our aid.
My name is Amjad Abu Yassin. I was born in 1993, Ashati Camp. It's 2010. I am 17. A day before the war, Gaza for me was joy and happiness. Trips and going to the sea, life seemed to be happy. And I wasn't thinking about anything. I had one dream, that Gaza would develop in art and sports. I felt that everything was fine except these two things. But it turned out nothing was fine. No art, sports, health, or safety. It's all the same. Gaza stopped being the city of my dreams because my dream is to be an actor. Am I going to be an actor for 20 people in Gaza? And wait till the border opens? If it was in my hands, I would try as much as possible to reduce wars, death, and violence. It's a shame for every drop of blood that falls on the ground. I hate the silence and the abnormal tolerance that people have. I wish all Gaza would wake up tomorrow and walk the streets shouting loudly, "Enough!" When the war started, we were playing football and the atmosphere was strange. The sky was red. Suddenly we heard the sound of a plane. I never heard a sound like that. We were all scared and lay on the ground waiting for death. After that, we heard the sound of a loud explosion meters away from us. We started looking into each other's faces and silently saying goodbye. Turned out the bombing wasn't meant for us. It was targeting a car of wanted men on the road above. But we kept lying down waiting for the second rocket, and all I could think of was my two older brothers who were with me. I was more afraid for them than for myself, and I think they also felt the same way. I carried my sports shorts and ran away from the field. As I ran, I stepped on a piece of shrapnel. I took it out of my leg and went out onto the street and saw them. They were 3 martyrs, and you couldn't make out their features. The first one's legs were on fire. He was looking at me, and I at him. Among everyone there, he was warning me about something I didn't understand. It was then I knew he was warning me about a car coming fast towards me. Then I knew the real meaning of death. And instead of being 3 martyrs, there could have been 4. I was shocked at the scene. I stood there watching, and when I woke up after passing out, I ran home. The war came and went, and we're still living it. The victims are always the poor people who have nothing to do with anything. Even when there's an earthquake or a flood in any country, the victims are the poor people, as though there's a universal conspiracy against them. After the war, everyone started lying to everyone else. Lies, cheating, dishonesty, deceitfulness. For positions and interest, the leaders and powerful people commit slaughters and crimes without batting an eyelid or feeling any guilt. Poor people get poorer, and sick ones sicker. I've lost trust in all mottos. The biggest speech from the biggest leader is bullshit. All speeches in the world don't warm up a cold person or someone sleeping in a tent after the war. The crisis is that the whole world is watching us as though there's nothing going on, and they're still making speeches. 10th of November, 2024. I'm 31. My last letter. I really wish it's the last one. I'm not Christ to bear on my shoulders the sins of humanity, and I don't have the power to forgive all humanity. How is it logical that for being Palestinian, we have to endure a doomed fate since the beginning of creation? That the world blames us for all its guilt and anger? From the beginning of time, Palestinians are destined to suffer, to roam, and to die. No one is spared, not the weakest or the strongest of us, nor the most villain or the prophet. 400 days have passed. I've seen children wishing to die from what they are experiencing. And every time I hear a child wishing to die, everything in me dies. I've also seen kids clinging for life, and a lot of bodies and a little life. It seems that the world doesn't want to open its eyes to what's happening to us. It's choosing to be blind so it doesn't feel guilty. Ignorance is better than truth. But there are those who see and listen and read these words and hear them. You are our last hope. Millions of stars light our skies, but aren't able to give light to a bombed family under the rubble waiting for its fate. Not a year passed since last October. It seems like centuries. Day after day, we are using our minds when this war ends, and I wish that I find the courage to call myself human again. Regardless to their efforts to strip us from our humanity, I resist it. I don't wish this pain we are enduring on any other people. A few months ago, a school next to us was bombed. Tons were martyred. I still smell death and blood. I started picking parts from the ground, me and others. After minutes, the schoolyard turned into a mountain of hewn parts. For a few minutes, I was inside hell. I used to hold children's hands and play with them on stage, not to carry their missing parts. Their hands and their legs are spread on the ground with wires. The children were spread everywhere like clothes waiting to dry. But I no longer feel anxious. I was feeling calm. All the world's leaders said this war had to stop, and I believe them all. Every time I hold a hand or a leg or see a dead body, I believe them. For a year, I have been believing them all, that the war has to stop, and I still believe them. It's a good thing and a bad thing to be a Palestinian, because you know the truth about the world. Human rights and all these principles that the world has been talking about, it doesn't apply to everyone. Only the strong ones. They invite whoever they want, and for us, unlucky ones, we aren't invited to the feast.
My name is Ahmad Taha. I was born in 1996, Al-Baraj. 2010, I'm 14. When the bombing began, all the schools in Gaza went home except us. The principal wouldn't let us leave. The kids freaked out, and in a second they went out into the schoolyard. The weird thing is that I'm in the Zaytoune school, the one near the Ministry of Passports, which got hit first. With the first hit, a piece of a rocket flew onto the biggest tree in the school and sliced it in two like a sugarcane. As soon as we saw that, no one stayed in school. Students, teachers, or the principal. We fled for our lives. I thought the only martyr that I would see in the war is the tree, but as soon as I got home, there were 4 martyrs in our street, as though waiting for me to say goodbye to them. When I was done with that, 3 more martyrs from the same family in our street arrived. As soon as we buried them and returned, our neighbour's house, 2 houses down the street, was bombed by the army, and the house was wiped off the ground. Everyone died. I felt most sad for the little girls. I thought the war was targeting me alone, out of all the people in Gaza. All day I'd been seeing martyrs. In the Shifa hospital, I saw a sight that I will never forget. Hundreds of corpses, one on top of the other, their flesh, their blood, and their bones all melting on each other. You wouldn't know the woman from the man or even the child. Piles of flesh on the beds and lots of people screaming and crying, not knowing where their kids are, their men or their women. That night, I came home from hospital and was awake till morning from fear. I thought that it would only be that night that I couldn't sleep, but till today, I see them in front of me and I can't sleep. November 2024. I am now 28. My final message to the world. I want to talk about the greatest disaster that happened to me. We were sitting, drinking tea at the end of the day with my family, when a helicopter came and started shooting at us. We dropped to the ground and my father was hit. He started screaming at us, "Don't move, no one move," while he was bleeding. We were too scared to approach him, to carry him and take him to the hospital, because anyone who moves would be killed. I was worried about how to help my father while I was next to him, but I couldn't help him. He was bleeding, and with every drop of blood, I died 1,000,000 deaths. I was scared for him and for myself. After a while, the helicopter left, and we carried my father and took him to the hospital. Thank God, he was fine after 40 days in the hospital, but now he limps when he walks. What I want to tell you is that we've reached a point where you might die, and everyone watches you die, and no one is able or willing to help you because they are afraid they'll die with you, even if it's the closest people to you. For me, the homeland is family. The homeland is safety, and the homeland is the comfort everyone needs in every material and emotional form. That's why I am now thinking about migration, to any place where my family and I can be safe, without the threat of death hanging over us at any moment. And I don't want anyone to tell me slogans, articles, or advice. What I've seen and what happened to me is not insignificant. And I wouldn't wish for any human being to live what we are living in Gaza. A Gaza that once was beautiful.
My name is Tamer Najem, born in 1993, Ashik Radwan, 2010. I'm 17. Gaza is a matchbox, and we are the matches inside of it. When the war started on Gaza, all the media was focused on us. Al Jazeera, Al Arabiya, and all the satellite channels were focused on Gaza. And the occupation wouldn't leave us alone. The whole world became busy with Gaza and what's happening in it. Suddenly, Al Jazeera wrote, "Breaking news, the death of my uncle. He was very well known. And it wasn't normal, because he's my uncle, my mother's brother. And it was the first time I see the screaming move from live broadcast on TV to the house. Screaming and yelling and tears. All of it mixed up together, and it moved from our house to the street. And my mom, she fainted. A while later, the phone rang, and it was my second uncle telling us the news. That my uncle was martyred. He didn't even know. The whole world knew before he did. The television is awful. Before a person is shot, as the bullet is on its way to his chest, the television already broadcasts the news. But these days, all the channels are sitting idle, praying to God to send another war on Gaza, so they have work. Anyway, we all started crying bitterly for my uncle and remembering him and talking about him. We kept talking about him for a long time. And then it started getting less because death becomes normal in Gaza. After the war, I stopped caring. I stopped caring whether I live or die. After what we saw in the war, I don't care about anything. Because I think each day I live is the biggest bonus. And all the life I live after the war, it's extra because I could have died in any second. You know, I'm sick of the city, even though I love it. I love it. But I'm sick of the people too. Sometimes I feel that I know the 1.5 million who are in Gaza. There's nothing new. The same day is repeated every day. I feel like traveling, like changing scene and faces. You know, as soon as I wake up every morning, I see the electricity pole in my face. I wish I'd wake up one day and not see it there. Each day, Abu Ibrahim stands at the door of the supermarket, and Abed, the bean seller, is selling his beans, and Abu El Abed is sitting at the door of his house, afraid that his house is going to run away. Ibrahim is standing with Hassan, and I know the taxi drivers one by one. I know who takes you to the city, and I know who takes you to the beach. It's soul draining. The only hour that's different in my life is the one when I come to theater practice. It became my work and my mission. I wait for it impatiently. Without the theater, I would have gone crazy. When I grow up, I want to be a big actor. I've loved acting since I was a kid. But any institution that I used to go to when I was a kid, they threw me out a few days later. But this time is different. November 11th, 2024. I'm 31. A mess, a dizziness, and an endless headache. I don't know where I am, or even who I am. I feel like I'm in a whirlpool spinning me around, and I'm completely surrendered to it. Sweet things, they mix with painful things. And these moments that make me cry, and others, they make me lose myself. God, you know, where was I? Where have I become? Why? How? And for whose sake is all this happening? Life has become this equation. Me and only me. I wake up and sleep, unable to tell night from day, and the days, they seem the same, like a repeated version of one another. The rain comes and it goes, the wind carries me wherever it wants, hoping that it's a safe place. But the safe place is far away now. We're tired. The roads have worn us down. We're tired. We're worn down to the point we have become a burden to ourselves and to those around us. I have burdened myself, embarrassed myself, disturbed people without meaning to, and hurt those that I love. What I've learned is the tighter the circle gets, the purer it becomes. Having more, it's just a burden. And sometimes being alone, that's better. But I wonder, am I dreaming? Or is it an endless April Fool's joke? It feels like I'm living in a hidden camera show. For God's sake, enough. We die in silence. We are oppressed, and no one hears, no one feels, and even those who feel cannot do anything. We are exhausted by grief. Exhausted. No longer matters to think about the small details. Do you know what a tent means? I don't think you do. Let me tell you. A tent means cold. It means slow death and continuous hunger. A tent means you and 10 others sleep in a cramped space, half of you inside, the other half outside, like the remnants of life on the edge of nothingness. You wake up with the morning sun that scorches you with its heat. You have flies biting your body. And at night, the cold stings you and makes you forget the warmth of life. In the tent, there are no secrets. Everyone's exposed to everyone else. Families here, we have no choice. No choice but to share as if we are all one family. Every morning starts with a new struggle for survival to secure bread and a little bit of water. We don't know rest here. And we have become like an entire people sharing one bitter dream. Every day is a new story, a new loss, a renewed longing and pain. This is a whirlwind taking us between places and circumstances, and every place brings with it a new shock, to the point that we can no longer comprehend it. But every day we live with a new hope, and then it vanishes like a mirage. We have become like near naked bodies, empty stomachs, tired minds, wounded hearts. As time passed, hope died and left us all alone.
My name is Rowan Jarour. I was born in 1997, Alvarage. It's 2010 and I'm 13. Relax, girls. Don't be scared. This is just the sound of aimless shooting. That's what our teacher said as soon as the bombing started. After a while, her mobile phone rang and she spoke a few words only. 120 martyrs. She smashed her mobile into the floor and told us, "Go home, all of you." As soon as we went out into the yard, we saw our parents. Some of them in pyjamas, some in their undershirts, and some barefoot. We were very scared. My two sisters and I kept waiting for Dad, but he was really late, so we decided to go home by ourselves, even though it's a long way. On the way, I saw something for the very first time. A martyr being carried on a coffin wrapped in the flag of Palestine with banners around him and people crying. But the weird thing is that the funeral barely had 30 people in it. Funerals of martyrs usually have thousands. Then I felt that there was really some big catastrophe going on in the country. I got scared for Dad. I didn't want him to come and get us because I was scared he'd get hit by a rocket. I was also scared of dying, and I didn't want to die now because it would be a catastrophe if I died and no one came to my funeral. I started running home and people were running around us like it was doomsday. No one knew where they were going because the sounds of rockets didn't stop. Every few seconds, a rocket would fall and shake the ground. I felt that the streets were not the same streets, nor were the people the same people, strange sights, sounds and smells. After the war, a lot of things changed inside me. I started hating going to the bathroom. From the second I go in, I can't wait to come running out. because all the time in the war, I was afraid they'd hit a rocket on our house when I'm in the bathroom. In there, one would get in great focus and, you know, the rest. I also started hating the morning line in school. When the war was started, I was in the line, and that's why today I feel that the minutes in the line are hours of fear and worry. All school for me is one pile, and the line is the other. I started having terrifying dreams. All night I have a conflict within myself between desire to sleep and fear of nightmares. Sleep became a monster hiding behind my eyelids. I stay like that till morning. I don't know when I slept and when I woke up. I want to become an actress, and this is a hard dream to fulfill in Gaza, especially for girls. I tell myself it's a shame for people in Gaza to be deprived of my talent, because I could become an important actress. But if they don't want me, to hell with them. I'll go to any country and act there. Gazans are deprived of everything, anyway. It doesn't stop at theatre. Sometimes I think people in Gaza can barely find food. How are they going to go to the theatre? You know, I wish I could live in a civil, democratic society with peace and 20 cinemas, and keep watching movies and flying in my imagination and dreaming. 11th of November 2024, I am 27. Every morning begins with a strange pain, the pain of distance and helplessness. It feels as though I am a prisoner, even though I am free, as if my soul lives in a place I cannot reach. Each morning I wake up to news that shakes me, explosions whose sounds reach me through the screens. But the hardest was Saturday, December 16th, 2023. As usual, I called my family to check on them, to hear their voices and calm my heart a little. But what reached me was far from reassuring. I heard cries, sobbing and chaos filled with fear. I tried to understand what was happening until I heard my mother's voice, choked with tears. They bombed us, my dear, and your father, he's not waking up. May God save him. The injury to his head was severe. It left him unable to move, unable to speak, and it stole his memory. My father, whom I had always known as strong, had become imprisoned in a body that no longer responded, his mind absent from the details of his life and the faces of the ones he loved. My daily calls have become heavy. I call to check on them, but I know no one is truly okay. Remember, what's happening isn't just news. It's the lives of people, the dreams of children, the hopes of fathers and mothers longing for a day of peace. War is not an inevitable fate, and peace is not an impossible dream. We believe there are hearts that feel our pain. Let there be a share of your hope and prayers for us and our families. Perhaps the world can become a more just and humane place.
My name is Ashraf Assosi. I was born 1994, Al-Wader Street, 2010. I am 16. All the neighbourhood kids loved him. He was calmer than a breeze. He would take his pocket money from my father and give it to me. Everyone loved him. His friends came and he went with them to school. They went out running like butterflies, flying off the ground, like the world was created for them. The Israeli planes were in the air. The sound of the helicopter was like a monster waiting to pounce on its prey. A car of men was driving along Yarmuk Street, and the butterflies, they were near the car. The butterflies didn't know that this car would be the fire that would burn them. A rocket fell on the car. My brother Tariq flew 5 meters off the ground. He flew higher than the car, then came down, walking. Nothing was the matter with him. The ambulance came and took the corpses. People told him to get into the ambulance, but he told them, nothing's the matter with me. And he kept going to school. 100 meters later, he put his hand on his heart and he fell down a martyr. I was in the street waiting for the school bus, and my sister told me to go see what's going on. I did, but I didn't see Tariq, and I went on to school. While I was in class, my uncles came and told me, you will take 3 days off school. I didn't suspect anything. We got in the car. Then my uncle told the driver to turn off the news. Then I started getting suspicious because my uncle loves the news. We got home and there was this big crowd of people around. Before I went down, I saw my father sitting on the chair crying. It was the first time I saw my father cry. He was holding a picture of my brother, Tarek. I asked him, Dad, was my brother martyred? He said, God have mercy on his soul. The ambulance brought him from the hospital. We all ran to say goodbye. He was sleeping like an angel with the book that he'd been carrying still in his hands. My father refused to let us go with him to the cemetery, but I got in the car and went and said goodbye to him and read the Fatiha prayer on his grave. I kept going for 3 months every day to sit at his grave and talk to him. At night, I stare at his picture in the room with the hero martyr Tarek written on it. Since my brother was martyred, I got used to sleeping in the bed alone. We used to sleep one on top of the other, legs on top of heads. Sometimes it felt like all of our limbs were jumbled together, but today I have a bed by myself. I'll never forget my brother. 11th of November 2024. I am now 30. Gaza, the deep wound in my heart, the land and the people being killed under the eyes of so-called advocates of humanity. I write now on the 400th day of genocide, ethnic cleansing, and the forced displacement of our people. I write from Egypt, after I managed to seek refuge here, just as our ancestors sought refuge during the 1948 Nakba. I recall their pain and suffering. Now I understand the secret behind that sigh and the tear that lingered in my grandfather's eye when he recalled his childhood and youth in the village from which he was displaced. Now, history repeats itself. Yesterday, they were my ancestors, and today, it is my present. Today, I hope with all my heart that my future does not involve being forcibly displaced from my homeland, or telling my children with a tear and a sigh the new Nakba of Gaza. How will I tell them of the immense joy I felt when I bought an apartment and began preparing it? How I used to finish my work and hurry it to complete some tasks myself? How I spent hours and days thinking and designing its decor? How I visited every ceramic showroom to choose the design and type of tiles? How I imagined in my mind the paint colour and the lighting design? How I was getting ready to marry and start a family to live a happy life there? How? How, when the occupation has wiped out the entire residential area, levelling everything to the ground with bombs of death and destruction? The same bombs that I have suffered from before and continue to suffer on, which took my brother away. Now, these bombs are returning to steal the lives of many friends, relatives, and neighbours, and to rob me of my joy and positive outlook on life. Now, for the rest of my life, I will never recover from the impact of this massacre and genocide, the effects of which will last for generations and generations. But what matters to me now is that the details of Gaza do not fade from my memory. Every night I remember Gaza's streets and its features, and I try to return to them in my mind. The details of the streets, my office. I imagine the taste of morning coffee and the breakfast dish with my co-workers. I hope this doesn't just become part of the past and memories. And I hope that the international and so-called humanitarian community will fulfill its duties towards humanity in Gaza, and that it will muzzle this oppressive enemy, the thief of our lives, our homes, our properties, and our joy.
My name is Sajid Abu Hussein. I was born 1995, Ashik Radwan, 2010. I am 15. What I love most in Gaza is people's kindness and simplicity. And what I hate most is the political party fanaticism. Sometimes I feel that there's a contradiction between all this love and kindness that people have and this evil that controls the surface. If it was in my hands, I'd solve the problem of the Palestinian division tomorrow. In the war, they assassinated a big Hamas leader. All the media in the world covered the incident, but the whole world was in one valley and we were in the other. Because Mudi and Saluma, my young brothers, and Dad had gone to our land that's next to the Hamas leader. We called them 1,000 times and, as usual, the Jawal mobile lines wouldn't go through, which stressed us out even more. Mum started pacing the balcony like a small bird from whom they've taken her children. She imagined that the balcony would somehow rescue Madi and Saluma and Dad. I was really stressed. I started crying and I went down to my aunt. My aunt started soothing me. She lied to me and told me that she had called them and spoken to them. I knew that she had not talked to them, but she was holding me and crying. And I was crying too. When I went up to our house, I saw that Mum was still pacing the balcony. I forgot to tell you that Madi and Saluma are 5 and 7 years old. They used to sleep in my arms and my soul was connected to them. I felt at that time my soul was going to escape and I would die. And honestly, only then I felt that there was a war on Gaza. Because I was busy with computer all the time and that day was the first time I lived the war. An hour later, there was knocking on the door of our house, and Dad came back with Madi and Saluma. As much as I loved them, this was the first time I felt how much they were really dear to me and how much I couldn't bear to be parted from them. I put them on my lap and kissed them like it was the first time I held them. And Mum stopped pacing the balcony, and it was the first time I felt she loved Dad like this. After the war, I started thinking, why are we like that? Out of the whole world. They took our land and threw us out of our homes. And because we are defending ourselves, all this happens to us. There's no water, no electricity, no phones, no petrol. What are we to the world? Are we human? November 11th, 2024. I'm 29. In mid-October 2023, most Gazans left their homes heading towards areas labelled safe zones by the occupation army. My family and I, along with my uncles and aunts, went to Khan Yunis in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, gambling with our lives amid airstrikes, the advance of military vehicles, the roar of planes, and even the bombing of shelters. We had no means of survival, merely seeking safety. In those early days, we kept telling ourselves, tomorrow we'll return. When we needed something essential, clothes, food, bedding, we'd say, the house is full of these things, tomorrow we'll go back. But between fear, insecurity, and the cold, we spent long nights, nearly 2 months, sleeping on the ground using blankets as makeshift mattresses, thinking this was only temporary. More than 100 members of my extended family shared the same harsh reality. We'd wake up in the morning, light fires, cook food darkened with soot, and bake in clay ovens. The first time I got the chance to sleep on a foam mattress, It felt like I had only truly discovered sleep that day. I forgot what peace and quiet felt like and had no private moments to grieve all that we had lost. We didn't have the luxury of protesting our circumstances. We lived through what our grandparents had narrated about their Nakba, tasting the bitterness of existence. We consoled ourselves with the thought that this suffering would pass. But then, just days later, the occupation ordered all displaced people in the shelter to leave Khan Yunis for Raqqa, declaring it a dangerous combat zone. We crossed through what they called safe corridors, enduring indescribable humiliation. The terror of walking between tanks, the mocking glances of soldiers, the fear of being separated from your family or losing what little you carried. It was a moment of utter despair. We left Khan Yunis with nothing but our tears. I cried until grief consumed my heart. We moved to live in a tent. Words cannot describe the first night. The weather was rainy, and I spent the night imagining the tent flooding and wondering what we would do. I didn't sleep a wink. I had yearned for restful sleep after so many exhausting days, but my thoughts didn't stem, nor did my sorrow. After many long months, in March 2024, I left Gaza, my cheeks still wet with tears. I bid farewell to my mother, that giving and kind woman who spent youth raising us after my father's death, defying life's hardships to see us become better people. Just as her eyes began to shine with pride at our achievements, the war extinguished that light, devouring her body and etching lines of struggle on her face that will never fade. I said goodbye to her, wishing I could melt into her arms and never return to this cruel world. I made my way to Egypt, carrying in me my memory, the Gaza I had loved all my life. Now I live alone with my questions, my fears, my anxiety, and my loneliness, far from my family and friends. I've learned that survival is an illusion because fear is a monster no less terrifying than war. I fear the news, the sounds, the inability to reach my family's phone, or an urgent report of a bombing near them. I dread the long hours where my friends are offline, which is the norm in Gaza given the lack of communication tools. These difficult and distressing circumstances are unknown to the world. I sometimes think I've experienced little of it compared to what my mother tells me they endure. Anger consumes me. My heart trembles, imagining how my mother endures such hardship. The fears and the memories of hard nights in Gaza have shaped me into an angry person, sharp-tongued, intolerant of opposing views. I can't bear to hear the word Gaza unless it's spoken with pride and admiration. I ignore and reject dissenting voices, a stark contrast to the person I was before, the one who embraced all opinions and welcomed every perspective. The war changed me. It took away the person I once knew. What we have lived, thought about, and witnessed is hard to explain, no matter how much we speak of it. It is the unique experience of a Gazan, thrown by the world to face the monstrous occupation, moulded into a myth to satisfy the inhumanity within others. One day, the Gazan will cry out to the whole world and care for nothing but reclaiming peace. On that day, the world must prepare itself and not blame the Gazan for the results of his prolonged solitude.
My name is Mahmoud Afana, born 1995, Astaftawi Street, 2010, and I am 15. If you want to call me a coward, do so. Because after the war, I don't answer to any kid who swears at me or even hits me. I'm just sad. I leave him and walk away. Before the war, that wasn't like me. The flying bird would avoid me. Why did this happen to me? Because honestly, after I saw so many kids dying in the war, I started to feel that all of us are going to die. It's just a bit delayed. I said to myself, kid, you're a lot bigger than that. And I started to feel as if I were 100 years old. The war ended on the ground, but it was still there in my head. I wanted to be like any child in this world. Not in the world, at least in Jerusalem. When I chat to my cousins who are living in Jerusalem on the net, I feel that they are living their childhood. And they don't think like me at all. I'm scared to tell them what I'm thinking. They don't think I'm weird. I pretend to be listening to them and I lie to them. But they didn't live what we lived in the war. My family and that of my uncle and grandfather all went to live at my uncle Annan's place because it was far away from the war and in a safe area. Or so we thought. The next day, there was a bombing on our street next to my uncle's house and the wall behind the house collapsed. Third day, my uncle, at whose house we were staying, went to buy beans and falafel for breakfast. When he returned, he parked the car at the door of his house, and before he went down from the car, a rocket fell on him. The upper half of his body fell on the asphalt, and when the ambulance came, they took the lower half from the car. The paramedics went and collected the upper half in a plastic bag, and they took him to hospital. Everyone started wailing and screaming. And my mother asked God to bring him back safe. I don't know. Was she lying to herself or to us? Of course my uncle didn't come back. He won't come back safe.
How do I say goodbye to what we have? The good times that made us laugh outweigh the bad. I thought we get to see forever, but forever's gone away. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. I don't know where this road is going to lead. All I know is where we've been and what we've been through. see tomorrow. I hope it's worth all the wait. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. And I'll take with me the memories to be my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. And I'll take with me the memories to be my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
There will now be, please say, because there will now be some food served for you. And also we've been lucky enough tonight to be joined by our friends at Ashtar Theatre via Zoom. And most of the writers that you've heard tonight have been watching. So after our food in about 10-15 minutes, there'll be a chance to chat with them directly.
Yeah, we'll put the big screen up and they can put their pictures up. Imam is here already, he runs Ashtar Theatre. So we will listen to some music, have our beautiful Lebanese kitchen open, and then we'll put the screen up and we can hear from the writers who wrote the words. We'll give the actors one more round.